Once you start being infatuated, you become worthless. So when I found out that the campus belle who had rejected my 99 confessions had actually loved me at first sight and that she only wanted to enjoy the process of being pursued by the guy she liked, so she intentionally rejected me time and time again. That's when I decided I would ignore her from now on and focus on my studies, then ask my academic advisor for a spot in the study abroad program. Before leaving, based on the principle of making a clean break, I planned to, at the campus belle's birthday party, completely cut ties with her. When I arrived at the door, the birthday party had already started. Familiar shouts came from the private room. Why is Chen Mufan so late? He didn't go off to prepare a surprise, did he? He's already confessed 99 times. It's almost the 100th time. Meng Yao, you should just agree to be with him. That's right. You obviously like him too. If you reject him again this time, your potential boyfriend might really run away. Hearing the girls teasing, Su Mengyao appeared extremely confident. Chen Mufan likes me so much, he won't run away. When he confesses next time, he'll say yes. Hearing her tone as if she was sure of her victory, I only felt it was incredibly ironic. Next time? There won't be a next time. In the 2 years I pursued Su Mengyao, I abandoned all my self-respect, ignoring the countless taunts and jeers from my classmates, and changed my methods every day to win her over. But my sincere feelings were never reciprocated. I also thought about giving up and secretly shed tears on countless late nights. But the next day, I'd pick myself up and chase after her again. I even wanted to stay by her side so badly, even the exchange student spot, which was so hard to get, I almost gave up. Until that day, I accidentally saw Su Mengyao's phone. Only then did I know that Su Mengyao had loved me at first sight. The contact name she set for me was Darling Husband. In her photo album, she had saved over 1,000 pictures of me. After finding out she liked me too, I didn't feel happy at all. Instead, I felt it was incredibly ironic and resentful. I'm tired. I'm giving up. Now, I just want to leave, to disappear completely from Su Mengyao's world. The moment I pushed the door and entered, the chatter in the private room suddenly stopped. Everyone tacitly turned away and changed the subject, as if they didn't see me. Su Mengyao also picked up a glass of wine, joining Lai Trek's game. Her expression was cold and indifferent. She didn't even bother to lift her eyelids. I glanced at her and couldn't help but marvel at how good her acting was. Faced with the entire room ignoring me, I didn't feel disappointed at all. I went to an empty spot in the corner and sat down by myself. For the next hour or so, everyone was greeting each other and chatting lively. Meanwhile, I sat alone, scrolling through my phone, like an invisible person. Before, whenever Su Mengyao appeared, I would definitely find a chance to get close to her, finding all sorts of topics to get her attention. Even for this birthday party, I had to pester her for a long time and ask many people to put in a good word for me before she finally invited me. Normally, something hard-won should be cherished more, but seeing my casual appearance and that calm attitude, it seemed like I didn't care about her birthday at all. This indifferent attitude, so different from usual, finally made Su Mengyao unable to maintain her cold facade any longer. She glanced at me a few more times. After singing the birthday song, cutting the cake, it was soon time for giving gifts. I waited for everyone to finish, then slowly stood up and took a calendar from my bag to hand to her. Everyone present looked at me in astonishment, because this calendar was only the size of a palm with only 30 pages in total, looking extremely shabby. I didn't care about others' expressions. I just looked at Su Mengyao and said casually, "Su Mengyao, starting from today, tear off one page each day. When you get to the last page, there will be a surprise. That's the belated birthday gift I prepared for you." As soon as they heard this, her roommates immediately started giggling. "It's the 100th confession, right? You're so persistent. Still going after 2 years. Do you like Mengyao that much?" Influenced by these words, Su Mengyao also naturally assumed that this was a countdown calendar for the 100th confession. The corners of her lips curved up slightly, but she quickly suppressed it, returning to an emotionless expression. "I only said that if you confessed 100 times, I would consider it. I didn't say I would definitely agree to it." I knew they had all misunderstood. When the last page is torn off, it won't be the day I confess, but the day I completely disappear from her world. I didn't explain. I just sneered and deliberately said, "Su Mengyao, I've pursued you for so long, yet I still haven't moved you. I really want to know what your ideal type is exactly." After I asked, the whole room fell silent. Everyone threw her puzzled glances. Su Mengyao stared at me, silent for a few seconds, parted her lips slightly. "My ideal type is..." She had just started speaking when the closed door was pushed open by someone. In an instant, everyone's attention was drawn to it. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Yichen walked in, carrying a beautifully wrapped box, and gave Su Mengyao a gentle smile. "Mengyao, happy birthday." Su Mengyao's gaze also followed this greeting and landed on Lu Yichen. She lifted her finger and tapped lightly on the table, continuing her interrupted sentence. "My ideal type is, of course, someone with a cheerful personality, good looks, the handsome boy next door type." Hearing such ambiguous words right after entering, Lu Dithan's face showed a look of joy. He hurried to her side and gave her the carefully prepared gift, urging her to open it on the spot. In a moment, the attention quickly shifted elsewhere. No one talked about this topic anymore. Looking at the two of them surrounded by the crowd, I didn't show any sign of heartache, but instead calmly returned to my seat. Throughout the evening, wherever Su Mengyao went, Lu Yichen was sure to be by her side. The two of them talked and laughed, took drinks for each other, and shared the same piece of cake. I silently watched their intimate display, and many memories surfaced in my mind. Although Su Mengyao is the campus belle of Tandai University and has many suitors, she has always kept her distance from boys, and the only exception is Lu Yichen, who grew up with her since childhood. He would fix her messy bangs, go to class with her, carry her bag for her, and for her sake, he would bet against other schools in competitions with female students. These instances of favoritism, in my eyes, were like thorns piercing my heart one by one. But until I learned the truth, I didn't know that although Su Mengyao and Lu Yichen were childhood friends, they weren't close before. Lu Yichen clung to Su Mengyao all day, but she never paid him any mind. It wasn't until I appeared that she started to deliberately act intimately with Lu Yichen in front of me, just to make me jealous and thus give me more motivation to pursue her. So when I saw Su Mengyao putting on such a play in front of me, I only found it ironic. I put down the wine glass in my hand, stood up, and went to the restroom. I splashed water on my face, which sobered me up a bit. Taking a tissue from my pocket to wipe the water from my face, my vision was obscured, so I didn't notice someone suddenly appear next to me. It wasn't until I heard Lu Dithan's sarcastic voice that I realized something was wrong. I glanced over. Chen Mufan, you've chased after Sister Mengyao for so many years, and she still hasn't agreed to be with you. You're shameless enough to follow her to her birthday party. I'm begging you. She doesn't like you at all. Can't you have a little self-awareness, you cheap stalker? I didn't show any annoyance at his words, just looked at him calmly. Are you done cursing? Lu Yichen didn't expect my reaction to be so calm, and he was stunned for a moment, but he didn't want to show weakness. Of course not. Do you know what the whole school says about you? The stalker dog who confessed 99 times. You're a student after all, don't you have any dignity? Anyone with eyes can see that Sister Mengyao likes me. Why can't you open your dog eyes and see? Looking at his hooligan-like appearance, I still wasn't fazed in the slightest. I just shifted my gaze from him to behind him. I reminded him, before you curse, why don't you look behind you first? Lu Yichen followed my gaze, turned around with a puzzled expression, only to see Su Mengyao at the door. She seemed to have been standing at the door for a long time, most likely having witnessed the whole scene just now. The moment he thought of this, Lu Yichen immediately panicked. His face quickly changed to a pitiful expression, with no trace of his previous arrogance. He quickly went to her side, took her hand, and hurriedly explained non-stop. Sister Mengyao, it's not what you think. It was Chen Mufan. He was bullying me first. But Su Mengyao seemed completely unconcerned, clearly having witnessed Lu Yichen insulting me, but acted as if she saw nothing. She looked up at me for a moment, then took off her coat and draped it over Lu Yichen, her tone incredibly gentle. The wind is strong outside, you're wearing so little, be careful not to catch a cold. With that, she took his hand and turned to go back to the private room. Lu Yichen didn't expect her to have this attitude, as if she didn't care at all that he had cursed me. He was immediately emboldened. He turned his head back smugly and gave a mocking smile, mocking me for not knowing my place. My head was down, so I didn't see Lu Dithan's provocation. I crumpled the wet tissue and threw it in the trash, then turned and went downstairs. The hallway was very quiet, with only the sound of my footsteps. In the dim darkness, what just happened replayed in my mind. I let out a cold laugh. Just now, when she draped the coat over Lu Yichen, her gaze was clearly on me. Yet the words coming out of her mouth were of concern for Lu Yichen. I have to say, her acting skills are truly remarkable. If I didn't know the thoughts she was hiding, I probably would have really been fooled by her and would have been heartbroken for a long time. Things like what happened tonight actually haven't happened for the first time. These past years, in order to pursue her, I cast aside all my pride and shyness. No matter how others mocked or ridiculed me, even cursing me to my face, I never took it to heart. I just wanted to focus on myself, to achieve what I desired in my heart, and not leave any regrets. That's why I persisted in confessing 99 times. But the person I've liked for 2 years, just to enjoy being pursued by me, ignored all those rumors and insults. The hurt this caused me was deeper than 10,000 curses. Outside, it was raining heavily. Taxis had almost stopped running. The whole group was stuck at the bar entrance. Su Mengyao had called her family's driver, saying she wanted to take Lu Yichen home. Lu Yichen immediately put on a smug expression, glancing sideways at me, his tone as deliberate as possible. It's so late. Everyone has left. It's not good to leave Mufan here waiting for a car all by himself. Su Mengyao took the umbrella the driver handed her and said flatly, he has legs. After speaking, she didn't look at my expression and led Lu Yichen into the car. Watching the sports car gradually disappear into the rain, I didn't mind. I continued to call a ride on the app. I waited in the cold wind for over 2 hours. It took a long time before a driver accepted the request. When I got home, it was already 2 a.m. I brushed the raindrops off my coat and walked slowly to my door. I entered the password. Just as the door opened, the door to the opposite apartment also opened. Su Mengyao walked out with a cold face, her eyes devoid of any warmth. Come home earlier from now on. The sound of the door opening is too loud. It disturbs my rest. I looked at the clothes she was still wearing and understood something. I let out a cold laugh. I just mumbled an agreement and turned to go straight into my room, turned on the light, closed the door. After I finished changing my shoes, a loud slam came from outside. I paid it no mind. I took off my wet clothes, turned on the air conditioner, and wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa. I bought this apartment half a year ago after hearing that Su Mengyao had moved out of the dorms, so I intentionally bought it. In order to pursue her, I also moved out to become her neighbor, bringing breakfast in the morning, wishing her good night in the evening, creating all sorts of chance encounters every day just to move her. But no matter how attentively I cared for her, she always ignored me. But until I saw through her secret, I didn't know she had always been pretending not to care. Just like tonight, she had clearly been home for a long time and hadn't even changed her clothes, precisely because she was worried about my safety. That's why she wasn't asleep yet. But the moment she saw me, she deliberately spouted nonsense. This play of hers, where her words belie her heart, I was tired of watching it. I didn't want to act along with her anymore. I opened my phone, opened a real estate app, and listed the apartment for sale. If I've decided to leave, then I have to make a clean break. The next morning, the real estate agent came to see the apartment. I groggily woke up to open the door and briefly introduced the basic condition of the apartment. After the viewing, as I was about to see her out, the door opposite opened. Su Mengyao was holding her car keys, ready to go out. Seeing a strange woman next to me, her eyebrows furrowed involuntarily. Who is she? My sister-in-law. She came to drop something off. I lied without batting an eye. The agent next to me immediately shot me a surprised look. But she was very professional and didn't expose my lie. She found an excuse and left first. I went back to my room to change my clothes, planning to go to school. As I turned the corner, someone was standing in front of the elevator, blocking the way. I looked up and saw it was Su Mengyao. I couldn't help but find it a bit strange. Didn't she just plan to go out? Why hasn't she left yet? Su Mengyao saw the doubt in my eyes and spoke a little unnaturally. I'll take you to school today. I didn't know why she was acting like a different person today, so I shook my head and refused her. But it was as if she was on something, insisting on taking me, and even came up with many reasons, from being late to it being on the way. Seeing that even the reason of protecting the environment was about to be brought up, I couldn't refuse her, and I didn't want to drag it out any longer, so I agreed. On the way, neither of us said a word. The car was incredibly quiet. Used to hearing me chattering in her ear, seeing me so silent now, Su Mengyao was very unaccustomed to it. A flash of surprise went through her mind. It seemed it wasn't her imagination. These past few days, I really seemed to have changed, and for some reason, these changes started to make her panic. When we arrived at school, I unbuckled my seatbelt, left a thank you, and got out first. I walked quickly through the school gate, only to find that everyone passing by was using a very strange gaze to stare at me and whispering, "Is that Chen Mufan?" Yes, that's the guy from the hot search. So embarrassing. Hearing these confusing words, I quickly opened my phone and saw the link a few friends had sent me. I clicked on it to see and discovered someone had posted about my pursuit of Su Mengyao on a gossip forum. It even became a hot search topic. Looking at the headline, "The Infatuated Stalker of Thondai University," I was stunned. The hottest post in there was that one. It compiled all sorts of stories about me pursuing her, written in great detail. Even the content of my love letters was made public. From afar, I saw the school's notice board, where a crowd had gathered. It was plastered with the love letters I had written, and the crowd was laughing and commenting on them. Oh my, drowning in your eyes, that's so cheesy. Writing 99 love letters in all sorts of styles, this kind of infatuation is terrifying. Isn't he said to be the #1 talent of Thondai? How can he be such a stalker? Hearing these unabashed taunts, my heart sank. I pushed through the crowd and tore them down one by one. As I tore the last one, Lu Dithan's intentionally sharp voice rang in my ear. "Sister Mengyao, Chen Mufan has confessed to you so many times. How much do you like him?" Su Mengyao's voice was as cold as ever as she said a single word, 0. Seeing that both main characters were at the scene, and that I was even being humiliated on the spot, the laughter from the crowd became even more gleeful and unrestrained. A few gossips, afraid there was nothing to see, deliberately taunted me with questions. "Chen Mufan, you've confessed 99 times, and all you got was a big fat 0. Are you going to keep trying? When do you plan to start the next confession? Well, come and watch. Give you some pointers, how about it?" I clenched the torn love letters in my hand, my index finger turning white from the force. A few words rose to my lips. I was just about to speak, but looking at the gossiping eyes from all directions, I held it back. I sneered, raised the love letters in my hand, as if waving a battle flag. I announced loudly, "The 100th confession, at the school's central plaza, 9 a.m. on December 3rd. All students are welcome to bring their friends to watch." After speaking, I didn't care about the reactions of those around me. With bloodshot eyes, gritted teeth, I held my head high and left the scene. I didn't go to class that morning, but returned home. I tore up every letter in that thick stack of love letters, then burned them to ash and poured them all down the drain. Over the weekend, the Long Silent Club suddenly sent a message saying they wanted to have a gathering. I also wanted to submit my application to withdraw from the club, so I went. As a result, as soon as I pushed the door open, I saw Su Mengyao, who had never participated in these activities, had also made an exception and come. I just pretended not to see and sat alone in a corner. The moment they saw me, Lu Yichen's buddies started singing, asking why Mengyao agreed to come here. Of course, it's because Yichen likes lively places. Who doesn't know that our campus belle only listens to Yichen? I couldn't be bothered with their petty games. I casually grabbed a few tangerines to peel and eat. Everyone had gathered. The club president then announced the start of the game. I had no interest in it, but I was dragged into participating. I could only force myself to play this boring game of truth or dare. After 7 or 8 rounds, it was finally Su Mengyao's turn to lose. Everyone excitedly shouted and cheered. Campus Belle Su drew the card to kiss any member of the opposite sex, present for 3 minutes. Quick, who will the Campus Belle choose to accept the punishment with her? I knew she wouldn't choose me, and I didn't care who she chose. I lowered my head and fiddled with the dice in my hand, and things went just as I expected. Su Mengyao chose Lu Yichen, but she made one request. All the lights in the room had to be turned off. The room was pitch black. Only the sounds of breathing and whispers from the club members could be heard occasionally. 3 minutes later, the lights were turned on. Su Mengyao sat down first. Lu Yichen stood there stunned, his expression not looking too good. Su Mengyao didn't kiss him. I gave him an indifferent glance. Hearing the president announce the start of a new round, I casually threw the 3 dice in my hand. Unfortunately, it was 3 ones, the lowest score at the table. If you play the game, you accept the consequences. I didn't say a word and drew a card from the deck. It was the same card as before, with the exact same punishment. Immediately, everyone in the room looked excited. Their gazes shifted back and forth between me, Su Mengyao, and Lu Yichen. I just pretended not to see and casually spun the game spinner. The needle pointed to a junior sitting across from me. For a moment, everyone thought I would change my mind. They all held their breath, but I stood up without a change in expression and walked straight to that junior. My tone was full of nonchalance. Sorry to bother you, junior. The junior looked stunned and was about to stand up when Su Mengyao suddenly shot up, kicking the chair away. Just as everyone was still confused, she cut in coldly. We've been playing for so long, I'm a little tired. Shouldn't we take a break? Since she had spoken up, her roommates also chimed in to agree. The president had no choice but to announce a pause in the punishment. During the break, a few girls said they were a bit hungry, so the roommates quickly pulled the guys in the room downstairs, saying they were going to buy food. They were gone for 20 minutes. Seeing that everyone was still not back, the president didn't want to wait any longer and directly announced that the game would continue. I put down my phone and looked around. I realized that junior girl had disappeared. To be precise, apart from Su Mengyao, all the other girls had disappeared. I didn't need to guess to know that this was again Su Mengyao's doing, but I didn't want to play along with her, so I picked up the 500 ml glass of alcohol in front of me and gestured to everyone. The partner I chose has left. According to the rules, I choose to drink all the alcohol to complete the punishment. After speaking, I tilted my head back and drained the glass without a change in expression. Su Mengyao didn't expect that I'd rather drink than choose her. Her face immediately darkened. She stared at my flushed face with sunken eyes, squeezing the dice in her hand until they clicked. With half the people gone, the game was no longer fun. The gathering just ended like that. I was dead drunk. I waited until everyone had left, before giving the club withdrawal form from my pocket to the president. Leaning against the wall, I wanted to go downstairs. Just as I reached the top of the stairs, I vaguely saw Lu Yichen not far away. I was about to pretend I didn't see him and walk away, but he grabbed my hand, his eyes filled with indignation. Just now, after the lights came on, what did you mean by that look you gave me? Let me tell you, even though Sister Mengyao didn't kiss me, there was a reason for it. It shows her respect for me. Respect. I almost laughed out loud. But I knew that no matter what I said now, Lu Yichen wouldn't listen, so I nodded. Yeah, whatever you say is right. After saying that, I tried to push his hand away to leave, but Lu Yichen gripped it even tighter, cursing and scolding, relentlessly. The two of us struggled. I was already unsteady on my feet. With a pull, I lost my balance and fell backward, tumbling down the long flight of stairs. Lu Yichen was startled. He momentarily lost his footing and also tumbled down the stairs. Hearing the commotion from upstairs, the students downstairs who hadn't gone far rushed back to see what was happening. Seeing that both of us were seriously injured, everyone started to panic. In the end, it was Su Mengyao who contacted someone to take us both to her family's hospital. After an examination, the doctor said it was a fracture. If not treated promptly, there was a risk of permanent disability. From the moment she saw we were injured, her eyes never left me. Looking at my pale face and the endless beads of sweat rolling down my forehead, she seemed to feel the pain as well, her heart aching. The operating room was ready, but the only person in the hospital who could perform this surgery was a single specialist. Su Mengyao had to decide the order. She subconsciously looked towards me, just in time to meet my gaze. In those eyes, there was no longer the lingering affection and passion from before, only the stillness of a stagnant pool of water. This gaze made Su Mengyao's heart tremble violently. Miss, please make a decision quickly. Who should have surgery first? I lay on the stretcher, my face pale. Just seconds before passing out, I heard Su Mengyao clearly say that name. Lu Yichen, save Lu Yichen first. Very quickly, the doctor pushed Lu Yichen into the operating room. The moment the door closed, I completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, it was a day later. I opened my eyes, and the first thing I did was reach down to feel my leg. When I felt that my leg was still there and had sensation, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Tears of someone who had just escaped death welling up in my eyes. Thankfully, I wasn't crippled. My parents rushed over after getting the news and moved me to a VIP room on the top floor, taking care of me meticulously. 2 hours later, Lu Yichen moved into the room across from mine. Su Mengyao personally helped him in. For the convenience of checkups, the doors to both our rooms were left open. I could clearly see what was happening in the room opposite. Lu Yichen kept crying and complaining about the pain. Su Mengyao would find all sorts of topics to distract him. The patient meals from the logistics department didn't suit his taste, so she would personally go home to cook various light dishes for him. He was bored in the hospital room, so she would find all kinds of new and interesting things to entertain him. During the 10+ days in the hospital, the two were so intimate that even the nurses gossiped, wondering excitedly if their hospital director was about to get a son-in-law. I listened quietly, not participating, but in my heart I knew very well that Su Mengyao was doing all of this just for me to see. After all, I had closed my hospital room door hundreds of times. Every time it was shut, a nurse would come for a room check, opening the door with 100% probability. It couldn't possibly be a coincidence. On the day of my discharge, I ran into the two of them again in the underground parking lot. The moment she saw me coming, Su Mengyao helped Lu Yichen, who was in a wheelchair, up and into the car. Through the window, Lu Yichen stuck half his head out and gave me a fake smile. "Chen Mufan, I heard you live across from Mengyao's place. How about we give you a ride?" I didn't want to pay him any mind. Without even looking up, I got straight into the car. When the car reached the apartment complex, I refused my parents' help and went home alone on crutches. The elevator went from the B1 floor to the first floor. Su Mengyao, who was supposed to drive Lu Yichen home, suddenly stepped in. The two of us glanced at each other and said nothing. The elevator stopped on the 17th floor. Su Mengyao stood by the door and didn't leave. I had no choice but to take a few extra steps on my crutches to get around her and exit first. I walked slowly, but the person behind me walked even slower. I could feel her eyes glued to me. When I reached my door, I was about to enter the passcode when the crutch in my hand suddenly fell to the ground. I could only lean against the wall and slowly squat down. Just as I touched the crutch, a shadow suddenly appeared before me. Su Mengyao had also squatted down, probably intending to help me pick it up. But the moment our eyes met, her hand pulled back. She tied her own untied shoelace instead. I gave a sarcastic smile, picked up the crutch, and slowly stood up, then went into my apartment. After recovering at home for a long time, the final exams quickly arrived. Although I was about to go abroad, my leg had recovered enough for me to walk reluctantly, so I didn't apply to postpone the exam and went to take it. The lecture hall had too many stairs. My leg hadn't fully healed, so I sat in the first row of the middle section. Not long after, Su Mengyao also helped Lu Yichen in. The moment he saw me, Lu Yichen said his leg hurt and that he wanted to sit in the front row. Su Mengyao then helped him to the seat next to me and sat herself in the seat by the wall. The exam soon began. Lu Yichen timed it perfectly for when the teacher walked down to the last step and threw a prepared paper ball onto my desk across the aisle. My pen-holding hand froze. Before I could understand the situation, the teacher who had just turned around scolded me. Before the exam, I stressed many times that you can fail the test, but your character cannot be flawed. No cheating. You knew and still violated the rule. Chen Mufan, your result is cancelled. It was only then that I realized what Lu Yichen's intention was, but I wasn't going to suffer in silence. I immediately stood up to defend myself, saying I wanted to check the security camera footage. Unfortunately, because of a power outage in the lecture hall building that morning, the security camera in the classroom hadn't been turned on in time. Seeing Lu Yichen's expression change from shock to gleeful, I really couldn't swallow this injustice. Su Mengyao was sitting right next to Lu Yichen. She saw everything. The teacher didn't want to wrongly accuse someone, so he called Su Mengyao over. King University's lecture hall building was funded by the Su family. Su Mengyao didn't need to curry favor with anyone. Her personality was cold and upright, so her words carried a lot of weight with both teachers and students. After hearing the whole story, Su Mengyao glanced up at me and then said indifferently, "The one who cheated wasn't Lu Yichen." As soon as those words were spoken, my guilt was practically sealed. Teacher Zhao believed her immediately. He looked at me coldly. "Chen Mufan, what else do you have to deny? You cheated, refused to admit it, and even slandered a fellow student. You are truly stubborn and refuse to change. Weren't your previous achievements also from copying? No matter what, I must report this to the higher-ups this time and issue a school-wide criticism." I stood there, feeling as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. I had thought that since the right and wrong were so clear, Su Mengyao would stick to her principles. That's why I mentioned her name. But I never expected that she, having witnessed everything with her own eyes, would help Lu Yichen give false testimony. Any further explanation now would be useless. I gave Su Mengyao a deep look, then left without another word. Seeing my reddened eyes, Su Mengyao suddenly panicked. She subconsciously chased after me and blocked my path. "Chen Mufan, I know Yichen was wrong in this matter, but he's thin-skinned. I don't want him to be gossiped about. Not a single word of apology, only busy explaining for Lu Yichen. I even began to wonder if the photos I saw that day were just a dream." I looked at her with a sneer, my voice trembling with anger. "So this is the reason you helped him slander me? He can't stand being gossiped about, but I can? Is that it, Su Mengyao? Do you think because I've confessed to you 99 times, my skin is as thick as a fortress wall, and I'm strong enough to not fear any rumors? Seeing me like this, Su Mengyao's left eyelid twitched. She grabbed my hand. I didn't mean that. It's just one exam. You can still retake the credits. You'll find a way to make up for the grievances you suffered today, to make it up to you. You don't even like me. How do you plan to make it up to me? My sarcastic tone made Su Mengyao anxious, and she almost blurted out what was in her heart. Who says I don't? The moment she opened her mouth, she realized something was wrong and quickly stopped. Just trust me. Wait until the 100th confession and I will make it up to you. Su Mengyao was all but saying outright she would definitely say yes to me. Previously, she wouldn't have revealed so much. Right now, she was just panicking and not thinking straight. I had already lost heart long ago. I pushed her hand away and lowered my gaze, then just obediently tear off the calendar pages and wait for the last day. Seeing me pull my hand back, Su Mengyao was also stunned. Her tone finally softened a little. Okay, there are 3 days left. I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. 3 days before I left, the apartment that had been on the market for over half a month was successfully sold. The real estate agent came with the contract. I quickly signed it. I would move out in 3 days. During these few days, I would clean out all my belongings in the house so the new tenant could move in. After the agent noted down the date, I walked him to the elevator. Just as the door opened, Su Mengyao stepped out carrying 2 bags. She stared at the agent for a long time, then very politely called out, "Hello, sister-in-law." The agent gave a confused reply. After the elevator went down, I turned to leave. Su Mengyao suddenly called out to me, holding out one of the bags in her hand. "I was just passing by and bought too much. I can't finish it all. Do you want to try some?" I glanced at it and saw it was the fruit jam I usually liked the most. This shop is on the east side of the city. It takes over 2 hours for a round trip, and you have to wait in line for an hour to buy it. She deliberately went to buy my favorite snack and then found an excuse to bring it over. It was nothing more than an apology for what happened yesterday, but I no longer needed her apology. I took it without a word, and then casually threw it away after getting home. The bag of fruit jam traced a parabola in the air and landed precisely in the trash can. 2 days before I left, I went to a print shop and spent several thousand yuan to print 10,000 thumb-sized cards. I went back to the dorm for a bit and asked my roommates to, on the 3rd, climb to the roof of the main building and scatter these cards over the square. My roommates all knew what had happened recently. Hearing that I wasn't giving up, they all tried to persuade me. "Mufan, maybe you should just let it go. Su Mengyao has already treated you like this. Why must you torture yourself?" That's right, she really went too far. It's so unfair to your feelings. Although I had already thought it through, hearing my friends care about me like this still brought a wave of warmth to my heart. I shook my head. "Don't worry, I know my limits. Just help me scatter them. I've already hired a cleaning company to handle the aftermath. I'm not planning to confess. What I really want to do is say goodbye." Hearing these words, my friends were all stunned. They looked at me, and I looked at them, unable to guess what I had up my sleeve. I said thank you again, and turned to leave. Watching my retreating back, my roommates opened the cardboard box and took out a card. On it was written just one sentence: "Chen Mufan will never love Su Mengyao again." One day before I left, I went to school to finish all the procedures, then went home to start packing my luggage. I had only moved here half a year ago, so I didn't have many things, but most of them were related to Su Mengyao. I found a few boxes and threw all of these things inside. The scarf that took me half a month to knit for Su Mengyao, I cut it into a pile of scrap yarn. The ceramic vase she donated at the charity sale, which I had spent so much effort to buy, I smashed it to pieces. Every love letter I stayed up all night to write to her, I threw them all into the paper shredder. The moment the cardboard box was thrown into the trash, everything between me and Su Mengyao would become the past. In the end, only 2 pieces of clothing were left in the house. The outfit she wore when we first met, that shirt and baggy black jeans. I lit a match and burned them to ashes. I stood up, and as I turned around, I saw Su Mengyao not far away, looking at me with a shocked expression. "I'm just cleaning up some unnecessary trash." I said this indifferently and turned to go upstairs. On the day of my departure, I was woken up by noise from across the hall just as it was getting light. I groggily opened my eyes and grabbed my phone to check the time first, only to see messages popping up continuously on the notification bar. I looked for a long time before realizing all. The messages were from a group of over 20 people. A year ago, to find out about Su Mengyao's interests, I had secretly sneaked into it and just forgot to leave. Su Mengyao didn't know I was in there either. And the ones who started chatting enthusiastically early in the morning were Su Mengyao's dorm mates. "Mengyao, you're up so early. Weren't you too excited to sleep all night?" "Of course. She started getting ready at 11 p.m. last night. Are you really going to accept Chen Mufan's confession this time?" Scrolling to this point, my hand paused. I rarely saw Su Mengyao type such a long message below. It's not about accepting. He and I have always had mutual feelings. It's just us getting together naturally. Stop asking these pointless questions and help me see which outfit looks good today. This one or this one? Seeing her post dozens of photos of clothes, the group chat immediately erupted. "Oh my god, making such a big deal out of it. Is this still our cold campus belle who shuns all men?" Amidst a series of exclamations, Su Mengyao only replied with one sentence. "I like him a lot. For this lifetime, it has to be him." Seeing this line of text, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. So many old memories surfaced in my mind, Looking back at this like now, I only feel a sense of absurdity and humor like an O. Henry ending. So you like me, which is why you rejected my 99 confessions, letting me become a laughingstock in everyone's eyes. You like me, which is why you acted so indifferent towards me, and deliberately acted intimate with other guys to provoke me. You like me, which is why you twisted the truth to slander me, trampling on my sincere feelings in every way. If this is her love, then I really can't bear it, nor am I blessed enough to enjoy it. The messages in the group chat refreshed faster and faster. The girls from the dorm sent a few photos taken at the scene. It was just past 7 o'clock, and the square was already crowded with people. They all came to watch my 100th confession. Meng Yao, hurry up and come over. Don't let the confession start, only for the female lead to not be able to squeeze in. I was about to exit when I saw a message Su Meng Yao had just sent me. I'm getting ready to go, what about you? I'm also getting ready to go, just getting ready to leave. I suddenly really wanted to see Su Meng Yao at the sports field, to see what her expression would be after witnessing those cards fall, and what her mood would be like after finding out I'd gone abroad. It's just a pity I won't get to see it. From now on, everything about Su Meng Yao has nothing to do with me. After I leisurely finished cleaning up, I turned back to look at the empty room. Then I took out my phone and blocked all the phone numbers and accounts related to Su Meng Yao. After finishing everything, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. I pulled my suitcase, turned around, and left, running towards my brilliant and new life. It was 5 minutes to 9 o'clock. The square was packed with people, completely crowded. Even the security guards came to the scene to maintain order. Looking at the bustling scene below, like a sea of people, my roommates all clicked their tongues in amazement. There was even a hint of excitement in their voices. With so many people, what's about to happen will probably spread throughout the entire school quickly. That would be great, lest after Mu Fan leaves, people still gossip about him behind his back. As they were excitedly discussing, it quickly became 8:59. The club president received news that I had arrived safely at the airport and immediately rolled up his sleeves and shouted, Mu Fan has arrived. Let's get to work quickly. The people throwing things, the photographers, everyone focus. We must let Mu Fan see this spectacular scene before he boards the plane. As soon as he finished speaking, the 9 o'clock bell rang. Two guys, one on the left and one on the right, got into position and pushed the stacks of cards that were placed on the windowsill. In an instant, the white cards from the rooftop of the 16th floor fluttered down like falling snow, spinning as they fell. In the square, some nearsighted student shouted, "It's snowing." Everyone looked up. As the cards were about to hit the ground, the people below scrambled on their tiptoes to grab them, wanting to see what was written on them. And in the center of the square, Su Meng Yao was also looking up. Her friends looked at this spectacular scene, and all clicked their tongues in admiration. Scattering so many of these, there must be 10,000 of them, right? Chen Mu Fan really put his heart into it. Hearing the admiring voices of her friends, Su Meng Yao's heart was also filled with anticipation. She reached out and caught a card, then smiled and flipped it over to look. When she saw the words on it, the expression on her face immediately froze. Her friends beside her gathered around, intending to tease her, but after glancing at the words on the paper, they all stared wide-eyed. Their speech became hesitant. This can't be. It must be a mistake. While comforting her, they picked up the cards that had fallen on the ground to show Su Meng Yao, but the ones they picked up still had the exact same printed words. Chen Mu Fan will never love Su Meng Yao again. This time, everyone completely panicked. They hurriedly snatched a few cards from the hands of the onlookers next to them, but after getting them and seeing the content, the horror in their hearts grew even stronger. How could this be? Isn't this a confession? What the hell is this? Is someone deliberately trying to sabotage this? While they were still trying to find excuses, everyone in the surrounding crowd had already gotten a card. They started shouting, "Wow, Chen Mu Fan will never love Su Meng Yao again. So this isn't a confession? Damn! Did he trick everyone into coming here? Just to make this clear, with so much effort put into promoting it, the whole school knows now." The color on Su Meng Yao's face, amidst the growing jeers, gradually drained away. She just felt something blocking her heart. Her brain was deprived of oxygen, and only a void remained. Her hands clenched a stack of paper cards, her knuckles turning slightly pale from the excessive force. Her chest heaved violently. She looked up at the rooftop where the cards were still falling, her eyes filled with astonishment and panic. Thousands of people in the square were on their tiptoes, wanting to see her reaction, and she didn't disappoint them, throwing away what was in her hands and striding into the multi-purpose building. The excited onlookers hurriedly followed. After throwing down the last stack of cards, my roommates prepared to finish up, but as soon as they reached the door, they heard a rumbling sound coming from below. The elevator wasn't coming up either, so they decided to take the stairs down. Just as they reached the 15th floor, they ran into Su Meng Yao. She was running up with a few of her friends, and as soon as she saw them, she immediately blocked their way. A few seconds later, the massive crowd of onlookers also followed them up. Seeing Su Meng Yao, my roommate immediately started taunting her. "Oh, isn't this our Qingda's campus ballet? Didn't you say you disliked Mu Fan? Why come to watch this boring drama?" Hearing this sarcastic tone, Su Meng Yao's hands suddenly clenched into fists, and her expression immediately darkened. "These things, did you guys scatter them on your own accord?" Hearing the words "on your own accord," the three guys couldn't help but laugh. "We wouldn't dare." This was printed by Mu Fan himself, after spending a lot of money, and he went through a lot of trouble to bring them to school. At most, we're just the couriers helping with the breakup. Hearing that I was indeed the one who did it, the students below all started whispering. Doesn't Su Mengyao dislike Chen Mufan? Why is it that after he gave up, she seems so unwilling to accept it? What do you know? In our novel reading circle, this is called After the High Mountain Flower is Pulled from Her Pedestal. It's the chasing the husband to the crematorium scene. In my opinion, if she regrets it now, then she deserves to be humiliated like this. What was she doing the previous 99 times? These groundless speculations reached Su Mengyao's ears, like sharp blades piercing through the self-confidence she had long held. For the past 2 years, she thought she knew me like the back of her hand, that she could easily manipulate my thoughts and actions. And the truth was just as she had predicted, the previous 99 confessions all ended smoothly. She thought everything would end with the 100th time, and that between her and me, we could draw a perfect period. As a result, at her most confident moment, I used a way to announce to the world to deal her a fatal blow. She could no longer pretend to be cool, indifferent, and carefree like before, but completely exposed her true nature. She gripped the stair railing tightly, her hurried voice laced with panic. Where is Chen Mufan? The club president looked at her expression, a triumphant smile appearing on his face. He raised his hands and made a flapping motion. The confession is over, so of course he flew away. Su Mengyao subconsciously felt he was lying to her, but when she heard the last 2 words, her heart seemed to stop for a few seconds. What do you mean, flew away? She suddenly had a bad premonition. Pushing aside the guys blocking her way, she ran up to the rooftop. On the empty rooftop, there wasn't a single person, and the corridors and elevators were packed with people. There was no way for me to get down. Didn't Chen Mufan come to school today? After realizing this, the memories in Su Mengyao's mind quickly replayed. She arrived at school at 8:30, left home at 8 o'clock, and finished choosing her clothes at 7:30. Remembering back from this moment, the last time she saw me downstairs last night, she finally discovered the problem. I had planned all of this. I should have gone out early to prepare, but since last night, there hadn't been any sound from the apartment opposite hers. Either I went out after her, or I never intended to come to school myself. I spent so much effort to get revenge on her, yet I didn't come to witness it all in person. Why was that? Su Mengyao couldn't figure it out. She clutched her pounding chest, suddenly feeling that something inside her body was slipping away very quickly. She was panicked and uneasy, yet powerless to save it. All the security guards came out and finally dispersed the congested crowd in the multi-purpose building. Su Mengyao was helped downstairs, surrounded by her friends. As soon as she looked, she saw 7 or 8 janitors sweeping up the papers on the ground. She dazedly bent down and picked up a card that was covered in footprints. When she looked at the words on it again, she was in a different state of mind. The earlier anger and astonishment had turned into boundless panic and fear, a feeling that things had spiraled out of her control, rushing in a direction that she could not have foreseen. It was the first time her friends had seen this expression on her face, so they tried to console her. It's okay, Meng Yao. Chen Mufan did this. He must still be angry about what happened last time, about getting a public criticism. Go back and explain it clearly to him. Tell him everything in your heart. He likes you so much. He'll definitely forgive you. Right. He pursued you for 2 years, those 99 confessions. This time, he's definitely just throwing a tantrum. You just need to coax him a little. Although everyone was advising her positively, Su Mengyao's sixth sense told her that this time was different from the others. She couldn't suppress the feeling of panic in her heart, nor did she want to hear them chattering in her ear anymore. In her distress, she drove straight back to the apartment, wanting to find me and demand an explanation. 10:30, she finished parking, and as she reached the gate of the apartment complex, she saw a sanitation worker cleaning the trash can. She suddenly recalled the scene from yesterday when she saw me, squatting on the ground burning something. At that time, she felt something was wrong with me, but she didn't ask for the reason. Now, if she wanted to see what exactly I had burned, the sanitation worker had already put in a new trash can and driven far away. Su Mengyao could only take that card upstairs. As soon as the elevator doors opened, she was blocked inside by several large luggage boxes at the door. The young man next to her saw she couldn't get out and hurriedly apologized, moving forward to move the luggage. She guessed this must be the new neighbor who just moved in next door. Remembering that the wound on my leg hadn't healed yet, she planned to use the excuse of reminding me to be careful when going out to find me and talk. As a result, just as she reached her own door, she discovered that the door of the apartment opposite was ajar. She raised her hand to knock. It was very quiet inside. There were no voices. This unusual silence made Su Mengyao subconsciously frown. She was about to push the door open and look inside when a male voice suddenly sounded from behind her. "You're the neighbor from across the hall, right?" "Hello, I'm the new resident of apartment 1705. Please take care of me." 1705. Hearing this number, Su Mengyao subconsciously looked at the number plate on the door. The next second, her entire body seemed to turn to stone on the spot. The young man from before pushed his suitcase over, still enthusiastically introducing himself. Su Mengyao didn't hear a single word. She turned back in a daze, her eyes staring fixedly at the number plate of 1705 on the left. The new resident of 1705. Then where's the previous resident? The young man wiped the sweat from his face, his eyes filled with joy. The agent said he moved out this morning. Do you know him? Could you give me his contact information? He seemed to be in a hurry to leave, so he sold this apartment for very cheap. I was lucky to buy it. I still want to thank him. Just a few short sentences made Su Mengyao's mind go numb. She stood stunned for a long time, then suddenly came to her senses and leaned over to push open the ajar door. The room was empty. Apart from the usual furniture, there wasn't a single personal item. It was as clean as a new house. The young man didn't notice her increasingly pale complexion and was still grinning. "It's clean, right?" The agent said. "That guy spent 3 days cleaning. Because it was inconvenient to move them, he even threw away a lot of things." Su Mengyao didn't know how she got home. When she came to, she found herself collapsed at the doorway, her legs numb from squatting. Her whole body felt as if it had just been pulled out of water, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. She took out her phone, found my WeChat, and tremblingly typed a few words. "Why did you move out?" As soon as she pressed send, a small red dot appeared on the screen, along with 2 lines of a not a friend notification. This red color caught her eye, making her gaze freeze for a few seconds. Then, as if in disbelief, she sent a few more messages. A few more notifications appeared in succession. Looking at the phone screen, she felt as if she was choking, her throat almost unable to breathe. She clutched her own throat, her face quickly turning red. Just as she was about to suffocate, her phone rang. Only then did she let go to answer the call. Her roommate's terrified cry sounded in her ear again. "Meng Yao, it's bad. Chen Mu Fan went to Italy. I was just at the notice board and I saw his name on the exchange student list." This sentence was like a thunderbolt that stirred up a storm in Su Meng Yao's heart. She wanted to hold onto the cabinet to stand up, but her long, numb legs wouldn't obey. She fell to the ground, her forehead hitting the corner of the wall, creating a bleeding wound. Fresh blood gushed out, and the phone that fell beside her broadcasted a noisy sound. "What's wrong?" "We're coming right now." But Su Meng Yao was no longer in the state of mind to understand what they were saying. She raised her hand to cover the wound, only feeling as if ants were gnawing inside her head. The pain from her nerves was unbearable. She curled up, and low, painful moans escaped her throat. A patch of darkness appeared before her eyes, and before completely losing consciousness, her last conscious thought was a sentence. The one she had seen countless times today, that was deeply engraved in her heart. "Chen Mu Fan will never love Su Meng Yao again." Su Meng Yao was seriously injured. Although she was lucky to survive, she still had to be admitted to the intensive care unit. When she woke up, she discovered that 3 days had passed. Her friend sat by her hospital bed, letting out a long sigh of relief, then started chattering about what had happened during the few days she was unconscious. According to the information we gathered, Chen Mu Fan arrived in Italy 3 days ago, but he hasn't finished the enrollment procedures there yet. I heard that after the list was announced, someone reported him to the school, saying that he cheated in the recent exam, so his study abroad spot has to be cancelled. If the study abroad spot is cancelled, then there's an 80% chance he'll have to come back. Meng Yao, don't worry, he can't get away. Su Meng Yao's heart skipped a beat, her eyes suddenly widened. Mu Fan went to Italy, cheated on an exam, study abroad spot cancelled, coming back. She still hadn't had time to digest this huge amount of information when there was a knock on the door. A roommate ran to open the door, the other 3 turned to look, and saw the famous Professor Zhang of Qingda walk in with a stern expression. He glanced at the person on the hospital bed, his dignified aura making it hard for others to look at him directly. "Are you Su Meng Yao? I heard that the cheating incident involving Mu Fan and Lu Yichen was testified by you. I want to talk to you." Hearing this, her roommates didn't dare to stay and hurriedly left the hospital room. Watching the door slowly close, Su Meng Yao slightly lifted her chin. "Yes, it was me." Receiving an affirmative answer, Professor Zhang's face immediately flushed with anger, his voice deliberately becoming more emphatic. "Mu Fan told me that you gave false testimony, something this serious, and you dared to falsify it. Do you know what kind of impact this will have on his future? Because of the accusation of cheating, he will have his exchange student spot revoked. The Academy, in order to quell public opinion, is also discussing expelling him. Once the document is issued, plus the previous time because of you, when he caused a stir online, his entire life will be ruined by your hands. He likes you, but be fair and tell me, in the past 2 years, has he done anything to wrong you? Do you hate him that much? Do you have to push him into a corner? If you still have a shred of conscience, then hurry to the school and clarify the truth. Otherwise, not only Mu Fan, but I and the entire design department will also be ruined by one of your lies." Hearing these words, Su Meng Yao just felt her head buzzing, and her heart immediately panicked. At that time, she was just angry that I didn't choose her at the club meeting. She was still sulking at me and wanted to force me to make up with her, so she lied to Teacher Zhao. She never expected that. It would cause such a huge chain reaction. She dared not imagine if everything unfolded in the direction Professor Zhang predicted, what the final outcome would be. If she really ruined my future, then with my personality, I'm afraid I would hate her to death for the rest of my life. Lovers becoming enemies. This was something Su Meng Yao would rather die than accept. She no longer cared about the wound on her forehead and struggled to get up, wanting to go with Professor Zhang to the school to clarify the truth. The two had just left the room when they were stopped by medical staff. The doctors didn't dare to let her go and continuously tried to persuade her, but she didn't hear a single word, insisting on returning to school. Professor Zhang had already contacted, the person in charge of the discipline office. Right in front of the dean of the design academy and Mr. True, Su Meng Yao pointed out Lu Yichen as the one who copied. Lu Yichen didn't expect her to suddenly turn on him, and he panicked in an instant. He cried while saying it wasn't him. Mr. Trio also didn't expect her to retract her testimony, and for a moment, he didn't know whether to believe her or not. Su Mengyao glanced coldly at the incessantly screaming Lu Yichen, opened her phone and took out a photo. This is a letter Lu Yichen wrote to me by hand before. My family will bring the original later. Everyone can compare the handwriting in the letter and on the note. Hearing this, Lu Dithan's face immediately contorted, becoming extremely distorted. He stumbled a few steps, under the stern gazes of the several leaders, trembling non-stop. Mengyao, he cried his heart out. It's Mei Yichen. Have you forgotten we grew up together? This is all in the past. Why are you lying? Su Mengyao looked at his appearance, despite the clear evidence, still trying to deny it, and a flash of disgust flickered in her eyes. I never liked you. It was all just an act before. Now I don't want to act anymore, so of course I want cover for you. If you did it, you have to take full responsibility for your actions. As soon as she finished speaking, the Su family brought the original document. After a careful comparison, the handwriting on the note was indeed Lu Dithan's. The disciplinary office immediately convened a meeting and decided to announce it to the entire school to clarify the truth. For causing a negative impact, Lu Yichen was expelled and the incident was recorded in his file. By the time everything was over, it was already dark. Su Mengyao leaned on the wall as she walked out and called Professor Truong over. Professor Truong, does Mufan know what's been happening in the country? Although the matter was resolved perfectly, Professor Truong was still angry and looked at her with disapproval. He was about to be expelled. How could he not know? Did you hit your head and damage your brain? Being scolded like that, Su Mengyao felt even more upset, but she still wanted to explain a few things. Now that everything is resolved, will he come back? Professor Truong glared at her, his voice full of pride. There's only one spot like this in the entire design academy. Mufan earned it with his own abilities. He'll study hard in Italy for 3 years, and when he returns, his future will be boundless. What would he come back for? Besides, with people like you at Qingda, it's less miserable for him not to come back. If I had known earlier that he was so infatuated with someone like you, I would have had a serious talk with him. When looking for a partner, you must keep your eyes wide open. When I received the call from Professor Truong telling me everything was okay, I was sunbathing on the beach. I didn't know how he managed to get Su Mengyao to tell the truth, nor did I want to ask. I just sincerely expressed my gratitude to him. Professor Truong gave me a few more instructions, then rushed off to a meeting. I enjoyed the sea breeze, took a sip of the fruit juice beside me, and leaned back leisurely in the beach chair. I had arrived in Italy 3 days ago, originally intending to complete the enrollment procedures right away. As a result, the school called back home to verify the situation, and suddenly informed me there was a problem with my spot, and I couldn't enroll for the time being. I asked my roommate and found out that someone had secretly reported me, so I found Professor Truong, explained the situation, and asked him to figure something out. Although Professor Truong is a revered figure at Qingda, I knew this matter would be hard to explain. I was already prepared to face the storm. I have to say, ever since I met Su Mengyao, my ability to handle pressure has clearly increased a level. Now, facing the serious consequence of possible expulsion, I could take it in stride, no longer considering it a big deal. I was even in the mood to buy a plane ticket that very night, to take a short vacation at the Aegean Sea. Now that everything was resolved, I was completely relaxed. I was thinking about which day to go back and finish the pending procedures. As I was looking at plane tickets, a message suddenly popped up in the dorm group chat. Mufan, Su Mengyao just came to the dorm looking for us. She said she wanted to ask for your contact information. She said she wanted to apologize. We didn't fall for her trick. Don't worry, we didn't give her a single digit. You have no idea how haggard she looks now. She even has a bandage wrapped around her head. I heard she was in the ICU a few days ago. It's true what they say, what goes around comes around. She deserves it. Seeing these vivid complaints, the image immediately appeared in my mind of Su Mengyao being rejected when asking for my new number. A smile played on my lips, and I sent a large red envelope to the group. Thanks everyone for helping me these past few days. The matter has been settled. When the 3 years are up, I'll treat everyone to a meal when I get back to the country to express my gratitude in person. After booking the next flight to Milan, I stretched and stood up, walking on the soft sand towards the hotel. This time, the procedure went very smoothly, without any more problems. I looked at the stamped documents and the new student ID in my hand, a satisfied expression on my face. The staff member with me asked me if I would be staying in the dormitory or finding my own apartment. Because I wasn't used to the environment of complex international student dorms, so before I came, I had asked my family to buy a small apartment near the school. I immediately went there with my suitcase. After arriving, I looked at the stairs in front of me, tried to lift the heavy suitcase again, and sighed. I was wondering if I should pay someone to help when the voice of a beautiful girl suddenly sounded next to me. I looked towards the voice and saw a young, beautiful blonde with blue eyes asking me in English if I needed help. I quickly nodded. The beautiful girl then helped me carry my luggage up the stairs, chatting with me as we went. By the time we reached the apartment door, we had just finished introducing ourselves. I bowed to thank her. She then showed me her reddened hand and joked friendly, "I helped you. A thank you probably isn't enough. If it's convenient, could I have your business card?" Hearing this request, I was stunned for a moment, but I quickly reacted and searched my pockets. But after searching for a while, I couldn't find any business cards. I could only apologize guiltily. The beautiful girl said it was okay, then produced a pen from somewhere and held out the back of her hand to me. Please write your phone number on my hand. I hesitated for a few seconds, but still took the pen, and on her slender, jade-like hand wrote a long string of numbers. After moving into the new apartment, I was busy for a few days, and finally finished setting up the place. In the evening, I received a message. This batch of international exchange students had completed their registration, and a welcome assembly would be held in the auditorium tomorrow. I noted down the time and went out early the next day. Over these past few days, although I'd walk around the campus whenever I was free, but because the school was too big and the architecture was so similar, I still got lost. Seeing that it was almost time, I was about to find someone to ask for directions when my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. After thinking for a few seconds, I answered the call. A very familiar voice came through the receiver, but I couldn't remember who it was. While I was wondering, someone suddenly tapped my shoulder from behind. I turned around and saw the beautiful girl who had helped me a few days ago, Alice, smiling and greeting me. With the phone still to my ear, I finally realized it was her number. A look of pleasant surprise appeared on my face. We high-fived, and Alice asked me what I was spacing out about. I told her the truth about the trouble I was having. When she heard auditorium, she immediately said she had to go there too and could show me the way. I didn't doubt her and walked with her for about 10 minutes or so. Alice pointed to the building in front of us and told me we had arrived. I took out my phone to check, and it was indeed identical to the picture of the building my classmate had sent. I hurriedly waved and thanked Alice. The welcome meeting lasted for 2 hours. By the time I left the auditorium, my back was aching. I was wondering where to get lunch when someone suddenly appeared in front of me. She smiled, greeted me, and asked about my lunch plans. I was just having a headache about that. She noticed my distress, smiled, recommended a restaurant, and invited me to go with her. I agreed and followed her off campus. When we arrived at the restaurant's entrance, I realized it was a Chinese restaurant. A hint of suspicion flashed in my eyes. You want to take me to eat Chinese food? Are you used to it? I heard you guys aren't very used to the food here. I hope to have a pleasant dining experience today. I also wanted to try Chinese food, so I chose this restaurant. I didn't expect her to be so thoughtful, not wanting to disappoint her kindness. I smiled back at her. Then let's go to this restaurant. I can be considered half a host, so let me treat you to this meal. I hope I can give you a good first experience with Chinese food. The two of us chatted as we entered the restaurant and found a place to sit. I took the menu, and seeing that she seemed very interested in the dishes, I introduced them to her one by one. Then I ordered 5 dishes. Because of her lively yet polite personality, the meal was indeed very enjoyable. We talked about the cultural differences between the East and West, and then about the interesting things that had happened at school recently. We quickly became close. After lunch, Alice even walked me back to my apartment. When we said goodbye, she looked reluctant to leave and politely extended an invitation. This weekend, would I have the honor of inviting you for afternoon tea? The weekend was a rare, beautiful day, and I happily accepted. I chatted leisurely with Alice in a garden cafe. A flock of white doves flew to the lake, and a feather gently fell onto my hair. Seeing this, Alice smiled, stood up, and was about to help me remove it. The two of us were standing very close, looking very intimate from a distance. I lifted my smiling eyes, and just as I said the word thank you, I glanced to the left, and my gaze froze. The person standing at the door, with a bandage wrapped around her forehead and an indescribably haggard face. Why did she look so much like Su Mengyao? Before I could get a closer look, that woman strode over aggressively. She lowered her bloodshot eyes, looking down from above at the table of delicious pastries, her gaze shifting between the two of us, angrily demanding to know who she was. Hearing that familiar voice, I was sure it was Su Mengyao. Although I didn't know how she knew I was here, I wasn't surprised by her appearance. I knew she would chase me to Italy sooner or later. After all, in Su Mengyao's eyes, I was prey within her grasp. She was determined not to let me escape her sight. I was already prepared for our reunion, so facing her terrible attitude, I remained extremely calm. A new friend? Is there a problem? Friend? What friend? Girlfriend, right? Those last few words, Su Mengyao practically spat out through gritted teeth. She couldn't believe that, so seriously injured, she had flown thousands of miles here to explain things clearly to me, to confess everything, only to find me on a date with another woman. He's only been abroad for a few days, and he's already found someone new. Hadn't he liked her for 2 years, been rejected 99 times and still not given up? Didn't he say they would be together on the 100th time? Why did he go back on his word, break his promise? Realizing this, the fire of anger in Su Mengyao's heart burned even more fiercely, her voice filled with pain. Have you forgotten? I didn't give her a chance to bring up the past, cut her off directly. Chasing you wasn't exactly a glorious thing, so what if I've forgotten? Shouldn't I forget? Besides your face, you don't have anything special. I don't like you anymore. I want a change of taste. Do I need your permission for that too? My words left Su Mengyao speechless. She looked at me in disbelief, her eyes full of suspicion. Mufan, what on earth has happened to you these past few days? We clearly said, I've been living very well these past few days, eating well, drinking well, sleeping well. Thanks to you, I even had time for a trip. On the contrary, your sudden appearance has made me a little unhappy. If you can take a hint, please leave this cafe. Honestly, you've disturbed my meal with this beautiful lady. When I said this, my tone was light, and my expression was matter-of-fact. This cold attitude of shooing her away made Su Mengyao's already pale face even whiter. It was only then that she realized things had truly spun out of her control. Her emotions became even more agitated. She grabbed my hand tightly and began to explain incoherently. I was wrong before. I shouldn't have taken advantage of your sincere feelings. I'm sorry, Mufan. Forgive me. Can you give me one more chance? In my eyes, her apology held no sincerity. I was publicly rejected 99 times. Could a single apology from her erase all of that? What a delusion. Wishful thinking. Looking at her trembling hand, I raised an eyebrow, my tone dripping with sarcasm. I can't bear an apology from the campus belle. Rest assured, from now on, we are strangers. You don't have to worry about me clinging to you anymore. Seeing the determination in my eyes, Su Mengyao knew I wasn't joking. She was extremely panicked, and her hand unconsciously tightened, gripping so hard that I had to frown. Not understanding our conversation, at first she thought we were just friends catching up. Seeing the situation was not right, and my hand was turning red from the grip, she quickly stood up, wanting to help me break free. This action, to Su Mengyao, who was extremely terrified, was a provocation. Without thinking, she swatted Alice's hand away. Alice was pushed and stumbled a few steps. Su Mengyao shot her a few cold glares and tried to pull me away. Alice steadied herself against the wall, saw my resistant expression, and punched Su Mengyao in the face. The two immediately started fighting. A once peaceful corner of the garden descended into chaos. Tables and chairs were overturned on the ground, a mess everywhere. The decorative flower pot next to them was also knocked over. Many customers, afraid of getting involved, rushed out the door. The owner on the second floor immediately called the police. This place was in the city center, so the police arrived very quickly. They separated the two who were fighting fiercely and took them both to the police station. The bandage on Su Mengyao's head was torn off, revealing a frightening wound. The police officer's heart pounded at the sight, and he subconsciously assumed Alice was bullying a patient. Alice tried to explain, but the injured Su Mengyao wouldn't back down, insisting that the other girl had started it. The two argued for a long time, nearly bursting the police officer's eardrums, and it was still unclear who was right and who was wrong. Helpless, he could only turn to a third party, the only witness at the scene, me, for help. Sir, can you please describe the situation at the scene of the incident? Hearing this question, both of them turned around at the same time, fixing their pleading eyes on me. From the moment they started fighting, I had stepped aside to avoid getting accidentally injured. During the brawl, I didn't even say a single word to stop them. I just watched them take their anger out on each other. Now that I couldn't stay out of it, I didn't hesitate, raised my hand, pointed at Su Mengyao, and without blinking. She was the one who pushed first. Hearing this, Su Mengyao was stunned, unable to believe I would point her out. She stared at me blankly, her voice trembling. I only pushed her once. It was clearly her who hit someone first. Mufan, why are you? Her words trailed off. A flash of understanding went through Su Mengyao's mind, and in an instant, she understood why I had said that. I was getting revenge on her, wanting her to taste the feeling of being wronged, of being framed. Realizing this, she couldn't say another word, she just felt her chest tighten, unable to breathe. The police officer didn't understand this sentence in Chinese and wanted to ask me to translate. I directly denied any relationship between us. Alice and I were eating together. She barged in and started trouble, trying to force me to leave against my will. Then she pushed someone. That's why they started fighting. The last glimmer of hope, Su Mengyao's heart was completely shattered. She opened her mouth, her voice hoarse and weak. From now on, you'll never take my side again, right? I glanced at her, sneered. I'm an honest person. I only side with the truth. Su Mengyao still wouldn't give up and asked another question. So if she had pushed me first today, would you have honestly told the truth? Do you even need to ask? We're not close, are we? Alice is young and easily embarrassed. Of course, I have to protect my friends. After saying that, I couldn't be bothered to look at her expression anymore and turned to leave. With the testimony, plus the quickly retrieved surveillance footage, the truth was soon revealed. Su Mengyao, for being a foreigner causing a disturbance, was taken into temporary custody. I waited for Alice to come out, thanked her, and then apologized again. She waved her hand, not minding these minor injuries. On the contrary, she said today's date was interrupted and wanted to invite me to meet again next week. I thought about it carefully for a moment. Although Alice was indeed very beautiful, from what happened today, she seemed to lack rationality and maturity. I knew Su Mengyao wouldn't let this go so easily, and I didn't want to drag her into it. I certainly didn't want to go to the police station a few more times. I could guess she had other intentions towards me, but the me of now would no longer act on impulse. So in the end, I politely declined. Su Mengyao spent a long time looking for connections to get someone to bail her out. She wandered aimlessly alone on the streets. I don't know where to go. Just thinking about what happened during this time, she feels like her whole heart is being roasted on a fire. Extremely painful, overwhelming regret rises like a tide in her heart, completely drowning her. She desperately wants to go back to the scene of my 99th confession and agree to be with me on the spot, to express her true feelings. Then all the storms that followed wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have given up on her either. The two of us could have been a couple, but the night fell. The cold wind and rain shattered her illusion. She looked at the ceaseless light rain and finally realized that everything had gone, to a point of no return, like spilled water that can't be gathered. Even so, but she still didn't want to give up. She had a secret crush for 2 years, waited for 2 years, absolutely not allowing her expectations to shatter overnight. She swore to use every means to win me back, just like how I once pursued her, using 100 sincere hearts to exchange for my forgiveness just once. Just once. Once is enough. For the next half a month, I didn't see Su Mengyao. Life got back on track, but she asked me out twice after that. After I refused, the relationship between us just ended like that. I wasn't sad about this fleeting romance. I socialized and studied normally. Life was very fulfilling. In a foreign land, I knew a bit about cooking, so I quickly integrated into the circle of international students. Just as I was about to forget someone named Su Mengyao, she suddenly appeared again, bringing several carts of roses and balloons. She cornered me at school, seeing the curious gazes from all around. I was momentarily at a loss for words. Su Mengyao didn't even look at my expression. Seizing the opportunity, she said the words she had hidden in her heart. Mufan, if I also pursue you 100 times, would you be willing to give me another chance? If the me from a few months ago had heard this, I would definitely have been moved to tears. But the me now is not only unmoved, but I even got goosebumps hearing it. Such a cliché plot, cringeworthy lines. Was I possessed back then? That I could make such a public confession, so many times in front of everyone, recalling the past, I didn't even have a sigh in my heart, only the inability to look straight at it remained. If I had a chance to travel back in time, I would definitely try my best to persuade myself, who fell in love with Su Mengyao at first sight, to expose her true colors. I wouldn't be so foolish for so long again. 2 years, more than 700 days, wasted on someone not worth it. What a pity. I was still regretting, completely not hearing what the person in front of me was saying. After waiting a long time for a reply, Su Mengyao's heart grew more and more frantic. Her whole body became flustered and uneasy. She looked around, wanting to see if she had done something wrong. After checking, she couldn't find any mistakes. She could only look at me nervously, but as soon as she lowered her eyes, I immediately avoided her gaze and turned to wave at someone in the distance. My voice carried a tone of surprise. Hi ya, Weiyan, where are you two going? She also followed my gaze, only to discover I was greeting other people. This attitude of treating her like she was invisible made Su Mengyao's heart feel as if it had fallen into an ice cellar. Her face immediately turned extremely ugly. She tried to squeeze out a few words from between her teeth, wanting to regain my attention. Mufan. Before she could finish her words, the girl named Yaya came over. Her tone sounded very familiar. We're planning to go camping? Mufan, want to come along? The weather is clear. I have no other plans for the weekend, and there's a big nuisance in front of me. I had no reason to refuse, so I readily agreed. I smiled and asked her about the plan for tonight. Neither of us glanced at Su Mengyao. We chatted among ourselves and joined the camping group, watching the group of people gradually walk away. Su Mengyao's face instantly turned pale. She clenched her fists. Her gaze towards Yaya carried a slow buildup of resentment and jealousy. Su Mengyao followed behind us. To the outskirts, across a river, she could clearly see everything happening on the opposite bank. 7 or 8 international students were gathered together. It looked extremely lively. She had no way to fit in. She could only watch from a distance, but the more she watched, the more uncomfortable she felt. No matter what I did, that girl named Yaya was always by my side. The distance between the two of them never exceeded 10 steps. Moreover, they were getting closer and closer. This intimate attitude, different from the others, made Su Mengyao's eyes red with jealousy. She wished she could go over and drag me away, but she knew clearly, if she really did that, it would definitely make me angry. She didn't want the relationship between us to become even more strained, so she couldn't do anything to add fuel to the fire. She could only swallow the complex emotions that were burning her heart and told herself to endure it. She endured like this for 6 hours. The sky gradually darkened, the other side lit a bonfire and started a party. It was extremely lively, perhaps because it was too noisy. I wasn't very used to it. I went to the riverbank alone to get some air. Su Mengyao seized the opportunity to come to my side and called out to me, Mufan, I have something to say to you. I was in a good mood today, but I still didn't find her pleasant to look at. My tone wasn't very good. Sorry, I don't really want to hear it. After saying that, I was about to leave. Su Mengyao immediately got anxious. She grabbed my hand tightly. Her eyes were full of urgency. Just give me a few minutes, Mufan. There are things I've wanted to say for a long time. Hearing this, I finally looked up at her, but my expression was very strange. A long time ago? What words? It's not some nonsense like you. Fell in love with me at first sight 2 years ago, is it? By the end, my voice was filled with mockery. Su Mengyao was like she had been struck by lightning. She was completely stunned. She never expected to hear from my mouth the secret she thought she had hidden so well. I didn't care about her mood. The sarcastic smile on my face grew wider. Su Mengyao, think about it yourself. If you say those words, let alone me, even if it were anyone else or even yourself, would you dare to believe it? Who could hide a secret crush for 2 years without any flaws? Who would, to satisfy their own pride, reject the confessions of their secret crush 99 times? Who could, in the face of all dangers and hardships, without fail, push the person they like to the opposite side? Is this love? I'm afraid it's hatred to the bone, right? Hearing my mockery, Su Mengyao only felt her ears ringing. Her mind went blank. She tried her best to deny everything, but in the end, she couldn't come up with a single excuse. She could only say some weak, meaningless words. It's not like that. Mufan, I really like you. Everyone around me knows. They can all vouch for me. If I don't know, then who you like has nothing to do with me. Anyway, from my perspective, the person you've liked from beginning to end is Lu Yichen. You should go find him and confess your infatuation. Express your feelings. You two are such a perfect match. From start to finish, you both disgust me. The undisguised look of disgust on my face became the last straw that broke Su Mengyao. Her body trembled uncontrollably, but she still refused to let go, stubbornly trying to hold me back. I had no patience to continue dealing with her. I pulled my hand away directly and turned to leave. The moment our hands separated, she felt as if she was about to lose everything. Her heart ached incessantly. All the strength in her body vanished in an instant. She staggered as if about to fall. I expertly pretended not to see and walked back to the crowd with light steps without ever looking back once. I thought as long as I made things clear, Su Mengyao would give up. But I quickly realized, this person's mind doesn't listen to reason. Anything I said was useless. For the next few months, whenever I went out, I could definitely see her figure within 20 meters every few days. She would bring things she made in front of me under the guise of a confession. Once, twice, a third time, I was about to lose count. Faced with her stubborn actions, I always acted indifferent, with no reaction. I'd pretend not to see her if I could. If that didn't work, I'd call security to get her removed for causing a disturbance. This went on back and forth. The whole school knew of a character named Su Mengyao, and also knew about her relentless stalking. So wherever she went, people would point and whisper. But she didn't care at all. She only focused on following my back. She thought that as long as she persisted, one day she would be able to move me. But reality was far beyond her imagination. Not only did I not show any signs of being moved, but I also accepted the affections of other women in front of her. I'm handsome and have a good personality. As soon as I appear, I can attract all eyes, so I've never lacked pursuers by my side before. To put her at ease, I would firmly reject the feelings of other girls and be completely devoted to her. But now, I don't reject anyone except for her. Whoever gave me flowers, I would accept with a smile and thank them one by one, as if to deliberately provoke her. Su Mengyao could only watch helplessly as I got closer and closer to the opposite sex around me. There was nothing she could do. Between us, from beginning to end, was just a normal classmate relationship. She had no right to interfere with my social freedom. This point was made when she lost control after drinking one time and hit a woman who gave me flowers. I slapped her and said it myself. Days turned into months. Although the slap mark had faded, these words were like a brand seared into her heart, becoming a white silk sash hanging over her head, a needle piercing her body, making her remember it to the bone. Unforgettable. Gradually, Su Mengyao got used to me being surrounded by others, like stars around the moon. She couldn't help but admit I was right. It was never her private possession. After being rejected time and time again, she gradually became a bit numb. No matter what hurtful words I said, what kind of look I gave, she no longer felt heartbroken. She counted the times, from 1 to 50, from winter to spring, then to the beginning of summer. She thought the days would just pass by peacefully, from 50 to 100, perhaps even a 101st time. Su Mengyao never intended to give up, just when she thought she had really been able to take everything lightly. A mishap occurred. I appeared before her, holding another woman's hand. I smiled and said to the people beside me, "This is my girlfriend." In that moment, Su Mengyao felt like the sky was falling. She thought I was just mingling among those women, putting on a show for her to see. She never thought there would be a day I'd agree to be with someone else. And when that day happened right before her eyes, all the blood in her body rushed to her head. She instantly lost her reason and rushed forward, wanting to demand an explanation. Before she could even get close, she was stopped by the patrolling security guards, separated by a wall of people. Her eyes were red. She hoarsely asked why. My gaze rested on her for a second. My tone was indifferent. "I'm young and have money, and I have a lot of free time. What's wrong with dating a beautiful woman? Love you?" Su Mengyao was devastated by this for a long time. She got drunk alone at bars, getting dead drunk every night, with no one to look after her. Every day when she woke up, she would look at her empty surroundings and couldn't help but sink into painful emotions. Far from home, the loneliness of having no relatives, the pain of unrequited love, all became a thorn in her heart that she couldn't remove. Sometimes, when she drank too much, she would have reckless thoughts, wanting to find me and beg me to break up. But every time she got close to me and saw me and my new girlfriend holding hands, smiling brightly, she lost the courage to take another step forward. Su Mengyao had known me for 2 years, but she had never seen on my face such a happy smile, because the days we were together couldn't even be called normal. To be precise, they were days of suffering. She didn't want to look back on. Just seeing me with someone else was already so painful for her. So back then, when I saw her and Lu Yichin, how must I have felt? To this day, Su Mengyao could finally empathize, but everything was too late. She didn't listen to the advice of her friends and family and insisted on staying in Milan to find an ending. Day after day was both long and fleeting. When the summer heat faded, Su Mengyao finally heard the news that I had broken up. When she first heard it, she couldn't believe it. Until she heard people repeat it, she finally dared to release the joyful emotions she had suppressed for so long. She went to find me with a smile, wanting to comfort me, but everything was beyond her expectations. I didn't show any sad emotions. The way I looked at her was no different from months ago. Like looking at thin air, the smile on Su Mengyao's face froze. She tentatively asked me a question. "Were you wronged in any way?" To me, this relationship was truly born from lust. I was just lusting after the great beauty's looks, so we dated for a few months. Now that I've seen her face a lot, I'm a bit aesthetically fatigued. It just so happened that the other party was about to return to her country, so I took the opportunity to suggest breaking up. If you ask if it was true love, I did invest a little, but not much, so after breaking up, besides feeling a little empty at first, I recovered very quickly. So when I heard Su Mengyao suddenly ask such a question, I was momentarily at a loss for words. I stared at her for a long time and finally gave a very polite smile. It was an amicable breakup. Both sides were willing. What's there to be wronged or not wronged about? Hearing this, Su Mengyao's heart was temporarily at ease. The next second, she was choked by my unexpected words. Besides, no matter how great the grievance, compared to what I went through 2 years ago, what does it amount to? Weren't you the one who witnessed it all? Why are you here shedding crocodile tears? The last few sarcastic remarks made Su Mengyao panic instantly. She wanted to explain, but I didn't give her any chance. I can explain what happened that year, Mufan. All right. You'll be annoying if you say more. Su Mengyao, can you stop acting in front of me? I can no longer appreciate your acting. If you're itching to act, go back to your country. Go find Lu Yichen and your group of sisters, okay? They will surely be happy to cheer you on. These words made Su Mengyao's face turn red. She no longer had the courage to speak. I pushed her away and walked straight towards the lecture building. The romance camp is over now. I should put all my effort into studying. I promised Professor Zhang that I would achieve something to repay his kindness when I return home. After going through so much, Su Mengyao was no longer struck down by these words of mine. She even pulled herself together, preparing to continue confessing. From the 50th to the 99th time, from late summer to midwinter, facing a swimming pool full of flowers she arranged, a splendid fireworks confession, drones circling the Milan sky, I had no reaction. I even felt a bit lucky that I had corrected how people around me addressed me. Now everyone calls me by my English name. Very few people know that I am the one being confessed to. At this point, the confession Su Mengyao could think of, she had run out of tricks. After all, the previous 99 times couldn't move me. She was truly out of ideas. In the end, it was thanks to a friend's reminder that she thought of a way. The 100th confession, she chose the school's small garden. She set up a huge domino formation in the garden, arranging it into the scene of our first meeting. She used many star-shaped lights hung on the treetops and prepared to light candles in the garden at night to take me back to the past, to trick me into coming here. Su Mengyao asked many people for help and prepared dozens of backup plans. This time, she was determined to make me understand that she really did fall in love with me at first sight, and that now she was sincerely repentant. Everything was arranged. Only one accident happened. When the appointed time came, the male lead didn't show up. The people she had asked for help couldn't find me. All the prepared backup plans were useless. Seeing the painstakingly prepared surprise about to go to waste, Su Mengyao completely lost control. She drove like a madwoman, searching every place she could. The 9 o'clock alarm rang. The dark woods were instantly lit up. Countless balloons flew up. Petals and feathers fell from the sky. Romantic piano music echoed through the woods. A continuous clicking sound was heard. It was the domino formation starting on its own. The sound of them falling, one per second, after lasting for more than 10 minutes. The moment the last piece fell, all the candles were lit. The brilliant light illuminated the lifelike painting of a dancing swan on the ground. All the surprises were complete. But Su Mengyao felt as if all her strength had been drained. She leaned against the nearby flower trellis. Beads of sweat formed on her forehead. Her eyes lost focus. She stared blankly at the position on the right that was specially left empty for the male lead. There was not a single soul. I didn't show up at her 100th confession scene, just like I also didn't go to the 100th confession. The breakup scene. Su Mengyao knew. I had probably seen through her thoughts and deliberately disappeared without a trace, and the truth was just as she expected. When everything had settled down, her phone rang. It turned out to be a strange international call, but as soon as she answered, she quickly realized it was me on the other end. The sound of waves crashing violently against the shore came through the earpiece, the sound of the sea and some light laughter. I heard you were planning your 100th confession tonight. It's just a shame I'm not in Milan right now. I'm so sorry. Su Mengyao's heart, which had already turned to ash after hearing this familiar voice, rekindled a little. She swallowed the pain and resentment in her heart and pretended like nothing was wrong when she answered me. It's okay. You being able to call me already makes me very happy. As long as you want, I can prepare. The 101st, 102nd confession. Her voice carried a vague sense of expectation, as if she had already started dreaming, the beautiful dream that I had forgiven her. I didn't want to create this illusion. I looked at the surging sea before me and, the warm sunlight shining on my body, my tone carried a hint of cheerfulness. Then there's no need for that. I'm calling today just to inform you of 2 things. Su Mengyao's throat trembled. Her hand holding the phone tightened. A light flashed in her eyes. It's unclear if it was an incomprehensible glimmer of hope or the flickering reflection of the candlelight. The first thing is a kind reminder for you. It's winter now. The weather is dry. If you're done playing, then hurry and blow out all the candles in the garden, lest you cause a huge disaster. Hearing these words, Su Mengyao looked up and saw a dry leaf slowly falling, spiraling down. The second thing is to tell you some good news. I'm in love again. This girlfriend is a bit prettier than the last one. Your confessions can stop at the 100th one. A few simple sentences fell into Su Mengyao's mind and echoed countless times. In that moment, she seemed to be under a spell, brainwashed by these repeating words. A piercing pain spread from her forehead. Under the intense pain, she had no strength left. With a clatter, the phone slipped and hit a candlestick. Unfortunately, for the convenience of measuring, arranging, and storing, these candlesticks were all tied together with silk thread. One candle fell, pulling the ones next to it down as well. The scorching flames licked, the dry leaves and feathers scattered on the ground, then spread to the wooden dominoes. The strong winter wind blew. In a few breaths, a large fire had erupted in the garden. Su Mengyao's eyes reflected this towering inferno. The chill in her body was also driven away by this warmth, but she didn't make any move to run or call for help. She was like a sculpture, becoming a part of this garden. An entire night passed. The trees in the garden were all burned to a crisp. The only fortunate thing was that there were no casualties. When preparing this surprise, to keep it a secret, Su Mengyao had paid to send everyone nearby away. When the accident happened, she was the only one around. The firefighters arrived just in time and saved her as she was about to pass out from the smoke. Although she was lucky to have survived, her reckless and willful actions had caused irreversible and terrible consequences. This fire infuriated the administration of Qingda University. They firmly stated they would pursue responsibility to the fullest extent. As the #1 suspect, Su Mengyao was arrested and detained by the police. After the Su family heard this news, they were extremely worried and used all their connections to bail her out, but this was an international case. Su Mengyao couldn't possibly get away scot-free. In the end, the Su family compensated with more than half of their family's assets and promised to compensate the school at 10 times the cost. Qingda University finally relented. For causing a negative impact, Su Mengyao was imprisoned for half a year and was also blacklisted by the European Union, deported from the country, and banned from entry for life. As soon as she got out of prison, she was taken to the airport to be deported back to her country. Seeing the passers-by around her all wearing summer clothes, she felt as if she were in a dream. Su Mengyao finally regained some clarity. It turned out it was already summer. 5 months had passed. I had never visited her even once. After realizing this, complex emotions welled up in her heart. It wasn't clear if it was disappointment or loneliness. The days ahead are long. There will still be a chance to meet again. Su Mengyao could only comfort herself like this. As a result, just as she turned her head, she saw me walking out from the arrivals gate. We hadn't seen each other for a few months. There wasn't a trace of fatigue on my face. All one could see was a smile that reached my eyes, and the thing that upset Su Mengyao the most wasn't the smile on my face, but the woman whose hand I was holding. In prison, she had asked a few of her friends who visited to somehow bring her a photo of my girlfriend. Although she had only seen it once through a window, Su Mengyao still remembered that face, but the woman standing beside me now wasn't the person in her memory. For a moment, she couldn't tell if she had misremembered or if her friends had made a mistake. Just as I looked up, I saw her. It was very rare. I enthusiastically greeted her, and then straightforwardly told her the truth. Long time no see. I just got back from a trip to Germany. I didn't expect you to be out of prison already. Time really flies. Let me introduce you. This is my new girlfriend, Lily. After Su Mengyao returned to the country, she had a few people send me a message. She asked me if I was just acting or if I was being serious. I didn't answer her. Things had already come to this. I had seen right through Su Mengyao's character. She said she liked me, but in reality, the only person she liked was herself. To her, I was just something to show off, to satisfy her distorted, overinflated ego. I was nothing more than a trophy. Look, how many men chase after Aphrodite, yet he willingly prostrates himself at my feet, for me to order around and toy with. How powerful must I be? What a twisted mentality. No matter how she tried to prove and explain herself, in the eyes of someone like Su Mengyao, it was all just excuses she came up with, so I couldn't be bothered with her anymore. I wouldn't pay her any mind anymore. No matter if she proved it 100 times, or 200 times, 1,000 times, I wouldn't give her a single glance. I didn't need to waste my time on someone like her. In my second year of studying abroad in Milan, I seized the opportunity to participate in many competitions, broadening my horizons, and also built a reputation for myself. I was busy with my teachers and classmates, researching the most fashionable clothing. In my free time, I also had to hang out and relax with friends, travel the world with my blonde-haired, blue-eyed girlfriend, experiencing a beautiful life together. Life is so long, I still have a vast, unpredictable future to explore. How could I misjudge someone again and fall into a mire myself? Time passed day by day, very quickly. The 3-year exchange student program ended. I returned to the country with a suitcase full of gold medals. As soon as I got off the plane, I saw my parents and a few roommates holding flowers to welcome me. It had been too long. I was also very moved. I ran up and hugged everyone. The group chatted as we walked to the reserved restaurant. There, I met Professor Zhang again after 3 years. I solemnly placed the suitcase in my hand in front of him and raised my hand, joking, reporting, "Sir, I have completed the mission you assigned and have returned. Please inspect my results from the past 3 years, Professor Zhang." Of course, knew about the works I designed abroad, but seeing each other after a long time, he happily joked with me a bit. Patting my shoulder lightly, he put on a thoughtful expression. "You must absolutely not become arrogant and complacent. You still have to strive to reach new heights." The conversation between the teacher and student made everyone present laugh. Chen's mother enthusiastically invited everyone to sit at the table, raising glasses and toasting. Amidst the clinking of glasses, the atmosphere was joyful and celebratory. After we had eaten and drunk our fill, I took a few invitation cards from my bag and handed them out. My eyes were filled with a smile. I invited everyone to gather here today. Besides reminiscing about old times, I actually wanted to invite everyone to attend. The fashion show I've been preparing for a long time. Hearing this, even Professor Zhang showed a look of surprise. A fashion show in Milan? Then I must definitely go and inspect your results thoroughly. My roommates also shouted, "When is it? I'll go apply for a visa later. There's still time, right?" Mufan, we have to sit in the VIP seats. Hearing everyone's proud tone and how genuinely happy they were for me, my heart warmed. This fashion show is organized by my advisor in Milan. And because I worked hard for 3 years and achieved excellent results, I was given the opportunity to exhibit and showcase my work. This is also the first time I've stepped onto such a grand stage. Therefore, I felt I needed to present this precious stage to everyone who truly loves me, and the people I invited did not disappoint me. They all came to the airport together on the appointed day. Not a single one was missing. I carried my yearning and expectations for the future and boarded the flight with everyone that would perhaps open up a new life for me. Before leaving, I turned back for one last look around. Outside the boarding gate, I saw a very familiar figure. It was Su Mengyao, but my gaze didn't linger on her, because I knew she wasn't qualified to enter Milan, nor would she have a ticket to enter my life again. We were just two strangers, about to pass each other by in the vast sea of people.